Ready? Podcast! 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 We cast them down! The push. What's going on, everybody? We are here once again with another great episode, and we have a very, very special episode today. We are here with Christopher Scoville, also known as Jimmy Jacobs, internationally known as Jimmy Jacobs. Thank you so much for coming on and being with us today, man.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Pleasure's all ours. Absolutely. I went before we started recording. I saw you jamming out there a little bit on the ukulele.
Yeah, I bought a ukulele.
That's awesome.
Shit. Years ago, and I'm just like,
that's awesome.
I love that. Now, so obviously you're musically inclined.
Not really. No, just.
You can't pick that up and just do that and say you're not musically inclined.
What are you talking about? I just heard it.
I've just been here, over the past 7-8 months. It's been a crazy time. It's like, well, what are you gonna do with your time? It's like, how about play? And I bought an ocarina. I bought a ukulele, and I've got a hand pan coming in. I don't know if you know what a hand pan is. It's like a steel drum that looks like a UFO, and it's got this like real, mystic melodic sort of tone to it. So
that's a very Asheville, North Carolina instrument. I've seen people playing that on the streets in Asheville in a drum circle.
It's kind of like hippie new age.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that'd fit right in here where I'm from, man. You could just walk right up and just join in. There's circles of those every day in the streets in Asheville. It's a thing.
It sounds right up my alley. I just wrote that down for myself. Hand pan.
Look them up. Dude, they have this like amazing sound, and the way they're tuned, the scales. It's like you can't play them badly, more or less. It's just it's a pentatonic scale. It's just beautiful melodic tones.
So everything you're hitting is on the same scale.
Yeah.
Cool.
If you're not going to get anything really discordant, it's very beautiful.
Right. I'm so amateur with the guitar. All I know is the blues scale. So I can jam as long as I'm staying on the blues scale, but you try to get me off that, and I'm
It's something. Yeah. So it's like, what else am I doing with my life other than playing and learning and trying to expand my horizons and things like that. So
sure.
It's been a wild few months. I mean, before we were recording, Dom, you and I were talking. Like I said, this is probably the best year of my life. And the time alone, the time in isolation. I moved to Phoenix back in March, like right when everything started going down. Like I moved here. I drove to Phoenix I was in Chicago for a couple years, and the next day I went to go get furniture, and IKEA was closed. And I came down here really not knowing anybody, and then was just in solitude for months. And it's sort of this thing where you have the choice to either play on your phone and watch catfish reruns, or go in deep and figure out what's going on with this, and figure out what's going on here, and explore some. And that's what I did. So it was a super transformative time in my life, and really, really grateful. With all the negative stuff going on, I can sit here in gratitude and go, well, because of this negativity, I had this opportunity to sit with myself and learn to sit with myself, and all the incredible things that transpired subsequently.
That's awesome. And man, I mean, it stinks that you really picked the worst time to move there, because Phoenix is otherwise such a really awesome place to be at, from everything I hear.
But you can say worst time, but it was great. It was the best. If that hadn't happened the way it happened, I wouldn't be whatever I am right now. Right. I would be something else, and that's fine. And something else would be fine too. But it was really, I've been on this journey of, let's call it self-discovery, for the past 3.5 years. And this year was just like a crash course. It was so much information, so much stuff, so many revelations and downloads and whatever, that really brought me into a whole new a whole new level. I was able to sort of level up energetically, spiritually, physically, all sorts of things. So really, really amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Time and self-reflection always breeds growth, always
Yeah.
breeds.
No, if you're not distracted, there's a reason that Jesus went in the desert for 40 days and Buddha sat under the tree, I believe, for 40 days, because it's that isolation, that sort of, without the distractions of something else, when it's just you, when you're forced to look at here and everything that's going on in the layers and the layers and the layers, that's when growth happens, maybe enlightenment. Not personally saying I'm enlightened, but that's part of the idea, right? Is that enlightenment happens when there's nothing else and it's just you.
I love that so much, that mentality. And I'm a big believer in the fact that everything moves in waves. Everything on this earth, every interaction that we have with everybody else moves in waves. And you have a bad day, even if you're not doing anything, but you project a bad image, that affects the people that you interact with. And then that affects, who they interact with. And it works the same with positivity. And being able to have that, like you said, that kind of self-reflection, to be able to grow, figure out what's wrong with you, and what's wrong with you, and focus on what's right with you, and in the same sense, you don't get that time to be able to do that when you have all these distractions. And that's a really weird indirect positive to this whole pandemic that everybody's been in.
Yeah, well, it's very true that as we exist seemingly in the middle of chaos, especially if you watch the news, if you go on a lot of social media, it seems as though we're in chaos. Now, if you go outside for a walk, or if I go camping, world's normal, right? But if you tune in to this idea of chaos, it feels like we're in chaos. So it's like, well, what can you do in the midst of this chaos? And if you want to help the world, the best way to do it, in my estimation, is to first help yourself. Because as you start to take care of yourself, like, imagine what you could be if you lived up to the potential that you had. So as you feed yourself, as you grow, as you strip away the illusions of the ego, and as you heal the traumas and heal the wounds, all of a sudden you can interact with the world in a much more positive way. And those waves you're talking about, as I lift up the people around me. But if I go down, I drag down the people around me. So don't you want to be a lift on those around you? Because if you help lift those people up, then they're a little lighter, and they help lift the other people up. And that's how the world changes. we've been handed this frame that in order for change to happen, there's, you can either vote or protest or use a hashtag, and then the change is facilitated by the government. And that's the way change is made. And people have this frame, and they're really stuck in it. And you got to get out of that frame and go, okay, that can be a way to make change. But the real way to make change is to change your world. And when you change your world, you help the people around you, and that's how it spreads. That's how the wave grows, man. And that's how there's a rise in consciousness of the planet.
So true. And so much of the problem, at least in my opinion, I don't want to speak for you or Cass or anybody else, but on that note, so much of the problem, I think, in our nation is that people, their sense of helping those around them is, extends to what they can see from their doorstep, and not anything beyond their doorstep. And that changes mentalities and just how you are. I don't want to, get too political or force you to, get political, but I just think that's such a very important thing that everybody needs to hear, whether you're a wrestling fan or not, just in life, to just focus on how your actions affect everyone around you, and how the world could be so much of a better place if everybody just took that to heart just a little bit,
Yeah, I mean, we spent so much time for the last few weeks and months, and it's been the collective consciousness for so long. This idea that, we spend so much, like, let's face it, everybody spent so much time and energy and focus on picking a leader, when really you want to spend that time and energy becoming the leader.
Yes.
And that leading by example. If you don't like this guy over here because he's divisive, fine. Become the embodiment of of unity. If you don't like this guy because you feel like he spreads hate, fine, become the embodiment of love, become the embodiment of compassion, and lead by example. And once people see like, hey, look at this guy, like I look at somebody like John Cena, and he's somebody that I really look up to. And sometimes I think, hey man, what would John Cena do? And I know he's not perfect, but he's just a guy that is so graceful and so kind, and he has the power to destroy. Don't get me wrong. You know, in WWE, he was the man. And if there's anybody there could have crushed you just like that, it was John Cena. But he's the guy that didn't do that. He was more kind and more gracious. And that's what it means to have the power to crush, but the discernment not to use it. That is real kindness, and that is real power. And so, you know, all this to say, become the change you want to see in this world. Embody that compassion, embody that whatever it is. And you have so much power. You do. That's the other. There's this presupposition that, you know, the most powerful man in the world is the president of the United States. Is like bullshit. The most powerful person in the world is you. You just haven't realized it yet, because you have all these stories about well, this person's this, and if I do this, then this, and what if this, and you shrink down into being this little thing, and you go, well, hopefully if I cast this vote, this guy will take care of the problem. When really you have the potential to be everything in the world. I mean, think about what one person can do, and you can do it. You just have to start. You start with here. You start with what's in front of you. You start with, you know, getting rid of, you know, like, you have this damn vape, and it's like this thing like haunts me. Like, you know, you shouldn't be doing this, and it's something I'm working on. But it's you start with what's in front of you, and as long as in AA they talk about taking, you know, doing the next right thing, the next right thing, the next right thing, the next right thing. And you can't go wrong as long as you start doing the next right thing, the thing that's in front of you, the thing that's right here, and one foot in front of the other. You'll start to become more than what you are, and it's a beautiful transformation. And we're all working on it. I hope we all are, and you know, becoming what we're capable of being, because this world's made of potential, and we have unlimited potential. We really do.
Damn you, Jimmy Jacobs. I have so many questions for you based on your career, because you've done so much in your career, but I just want to stay on this train of thought with you, because it's and you know, one thing that I always, well, I guess two things that I always live by that were the best pieces of advice that I've ever gotten personally is, if you're happy, stay happy. Don't do anything to ruin that. But also, win each day and only the day in front of you. So like, you can't do anything about what happened yesterday, and you sure as hell can't do anything about what's beyond today, you know, what lies tomorrow. But if you just focus on the day in front of you, and you take those little steps, those little tiny steps in the day that you're sitting in, just to be able to win that day, it puts you in that much more of a better position for tomorrow.
Yeah, that's how change happens, man. It's one small step at a time. Unfortunately, this illusion that, oh, if we change the person up here, that fixes the problems. It's like that's nonsense. There's nobody you could put as the, you know, the ruler of our these United States or something that would fix things. We have to start to realize that the problems lie within, but the solutions lie within as well. I mean, that was a life-changing thing when I realized that. I go, oh, all my problems exist in me, but all the solutions to problems also exist in me. And we have this tendency to externalize the problems. You go, oh, that person's problem. There's the problem. There's the problem. There's the problem. There's the problem. And we also have a tendency to externalize the solutions, going, okay, cool. Well, once they make a new policy that will, you know, do this, then everything will be better. It's like, nope. The responsibility for the changing the world lies inside of each and every one of us. And so yeah, man, it's a fun journey to be on. Yeah, it's great.
I feel like I'd be remiss if we got this interview with you to have you on here and didn't talk about wrestling at all. So Cass would be mad at me if I didn't do that. So let's
not really, man. I mean, I'd be honest with it. I'd let it slide.
let's jump into, because you've had such a career, and which is ridiculous to think of considering how young you are. But you've already, if you didn't do another thing in wrestling for the rest of your life, you would have an iconic, legendary career. Part of that is because you started at such a young age. Was there anything, and this is kind of a general question, you probably got it a bunch of times. I feel like I've asked it a bunch of times to people, but did you ever see yourself doing anything outside of wrestling when you were younger?
Yeah, I mean, for a while, I wanted to be a lawyer like my dad, and I wanted to be a rock star probably in about 5th grade or so. I thought I would be a rock star. I became neither a lawyer nor a rock star, although I took,
Come on now, let's be honest.
I took LSAT in my late 20s. I almost went to law school in my late 20s, but yeah. So those were the other things. But wrestling happened, and wrestling was a love I had at a young age. And I don't know, man. I guess when you're young, maybe you're not scared to make these leaps. You just go, yeah, this is what I want to do. And I was fortunate to get in the business in a very young age. I think before the fear of change and the fear of failures all sort of came up, it was just like, well, of course you do this. Of course you go after the thing you dream about going after. And very, very grateful that I was able to do that at a young age.
Every time you open your mouth, it just gets better. I'm in law school now, and when I graduated from my undergrad, I went directly to law school, and I failed out in the first year. I was lucky enough to get in at a law firm in personal injury, local, and I'm from Philadelphia. I grew up basically like walking distance from the Armory on Southampton and the Boulevard. So, but anyway, so I was able to get that experience, but it wasn't until I got kicked in the ass with that failure that I realized that it changed my perspective to give, instead of looking at all the external things that I can blame, looking at the internal problems with myself, and was able to, fortunately, knock on wood, get back into law school, and now everything's going great. But it wasn't until I had that failure, that ultimate failure, that hitting the bottom, to realize no, this is a good thing. And now I look at it retroactively as one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Of course. I mean, that's how the universe operates. We tend to think these things are bad things, because at the time they're bad. But I can look at, just some moments in my life that were super rough, and just, this seemed terrible at the time. It was painful to go through. But you look back at that and go, oh, of course that had to happen that way. Of course it did. Because sometimes the universe will just ask to kick you in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't learn the lesson just through your day-to-day thing, it's like, all right, well, if he's not going to do it, we gotta, it's as if something from the outside is going, well, if Jimmy ain't going to learn to do this, let's kick him in the ass. Let's do this. And then let's see if he learns his lesson. And if you don't, the lessons just keep coming harder and harder.
Right.
That's I found. So.
And you don't realize how much room for growth you have until it hits you in the face like that,
Right. We have unlimited room for growth is what I believe. I believe we're limitless beings ultimately that are inhabiting these costumes, these spacesuits that we're in. So we have so much room for growth, and that's one of the great things that I sort of came to in the past X amount of months here is just letting go of the idea that I knew anything. I mean, that really started a few years ago. I had a podcast for a little while called Jimmy Jacobs Doesn't Know, because it was all about.
I was a huge fan of that show, man. I loved it, bro.
It was all like, well, maybe I don't know anything. And that's really started to hit a full stride. Now I go, yeah, of course I don't know anything. Of course my view on reality is incomplete and inaccurate. Of course. And part of me feels bad when I see people that really just think they know, think that they're so sure of something. And I just go, yeah, I'm not so sure about that, because as you start to open your mind to things, you look around and you see that there's different people, different experts, let's say, different that say all sorts of different things. And you can stand in the middle and go, well, this sounds pretty good and this sounds pretty good. I don't know which one it is, but I'm sort of open to it. And now I live in a world that's much more exciting because of that, because I don't go, well, of course this, of course. It's like, not of course anything, man.
Yeah.
Like who knows what's going on here?
Yeah, and the more you think you know, the less you allow yourself to be open to understanding what you don't know. You know.
Exactly. So it's such a burden off to go, yeah, well, yeah, I don't know about this. Of course, I can only have my perspective on it, and I'm gonna, you know, if something's important to me, I can spend the time and effort and energy to really dig deep and go, okay, um, what do I believe? What is my perspective on this? And then you just live the best you can, man. That's all.
I want to get in the Ring of Honor, if we can. And you really were one of the staples of Ring of Honor during the period of time where it really jumped off the page and became a national name. It was after that, post ECW phase where everybody was, at least in Philly. I think it was personally for me, seeing the flyers all over the boulevard and all, and always getting excited for it. It felt like ECW, only in the sense that it had that cult Philly following and that grassroots kind of base. But obviously, I'm not comparing the in-ring style or anything like that. But as far as just filling that void of a non-WWF indie promotion that's bigger than the indies almost, you were a huge part of the reason why it was such a big thing at the time, and why it remains a big promotion and brand name to this day. And you had most of your time there in the mid to late 2000s. You one of the hugest storylines that you had during that early time dealt with the Lacey's Angels, and that was kind of a running thing with you and Lacey pretty much through weaving in and out of your ROH career. When when you did that debut of the Age of the Fall, and you hung up Jay Briscoe, did you know it was going to be as big and make as big of a splash and as big of a controversy as it ended up making at the time?
I mean, I was hoping it would.
Mm-hmm.
That summer, me and Gabe Sapolsky and Tyler Black, now Seth Rollins, spent a lot of time, crafting what the Age of the Fall was, and doing sort of a viral marketing campaign for it. And a lot of time was spent on what the debut is going to look like. In retrospect, I've got some regrets about how we did it. Only in that if I could do it all over again, I spent 4 or 5 minutes cutting a promo underneath Jay Briscoe. I didn't realize at the time. And now I realize, I look back and go, oh, all I needed to do is stand there. And I didn't just say anything. If I could do it all over again, I would just stood there for 2 minutes and just gone, after the end of 2 minutes, I would have said, Project 161 is over. The Age of the Fall has just begun. And that's it. At the time, I felt, after this build-up with this viral marketing campaign, we need to give them this explanation to it. And the words didn't matter. It's funny. You go into something thinking it's one thing, and then you come out of it going, oh, it wasn't that. This wasn't the time for me to cut this promo that people would, remember what I said. Nobody remembers what the hell I said. They remember I hung a guy and I was wearing white and the blood all just came down all over me. And that was it. It was that visual, that visceral thing. So I've got some regrets. And I remember even at the time, I sort of realized that almost right away, going, damn, that wasn't the right call. But the visual was so strong that sort of made up for that miscalculation of some of the execution. But definitely a lot of time was put into figuring out, what to do and how to debut it. And I think we're talking about it 13 years later. So it did all right.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's weird to hear you talk about it with such a critical eye, because it went over so fabulously that, it definitely was I would think you hit it out of the park. But before, and I'm sure you probably answer a lot of questions about what it was like to team with Tyler Black and that process. But before I get into that at all, I want to ask what it was like to work the road and be working with Necro Butcher.
Oh, Necro was great. He was the guy. So when Gabe and I Gabe wanted me to, lead a band of misfits, more or less, and which ended up being the Age of the Fall. And Necro Butcher was the one guy that he and I both were like, Necro Butcher, yes, for sure. He was the sort of number one draft pick of the bunch, and Necro was such a unique character with a unique aura. I mean, Necro Butcher, you're talking about from 2005, 6, 7, 8 was like anybody versus Necro Butcher was like a dream match. It's like, oh, can you imagine Necro Butcher? Because he was so interesting and so unique. The matches that he had with Samoa Joe at the ECW arena for Idle Mid-South was just amazing. I mean, Necro and anybody would have been awesome. So it was great to have him around. He was just a unique presence and a unique character.
Sure. When it came to Tyler Black, Seth Rollins, would you prefer to be teaming with him or in the ring feuding against him?
I liked teaming with him because he was athletic and innovative, and I could stand on the apron while he did a bunch of stuff. If you watch some of our matches, it's a bit of that. At the time, I was still, he was still young enough, and I was experienced enough where me being with him helped him out. Like I could help lead the matches in, with the psychology of them, let's say, with the storytelling of them, things like that. And the trade-off was that Tyler could do a bunch of the in-ring stuff and could be really athletic. So combined, and at the time I had, more of a name than he did. So we could bring him in and he could be attached to somebody that people knew as well. So I was a benefit to him in that. He was certainly a benefit to me in his exciting in-ring style, which, I was on the lower end of that, I would say, generally, compared to a lot of the other talent in Ring of Honor. Our matches, I don't think our matches, nobody would say that they were like great matches. I don't think anybody had looked at me and Tyler against each other. I don't think it was good. It was always good, but never next level, I guess.
Okay. Now you had left in 2009. We're doing, your own thing, and then you came back in 2011, and the roster that was there just in that period of time was, same but different a little bit. Very very different in the sense. And did you feel like it was coming home when you came back in 2011, or did it feel like it was a whole new ball game?
I thought it was coming home. I didn't know. I came back the same day that they announced that Sinclair Broadcasting Group bought the company.
Okay.
And so I thought I was coming home, and then it kind of ended up being like, oh, I'm coming back to something completely different. So it was, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. When you were now I mentioned earlier, ROH is nothing like ECW, just except for the location and the passionate fans. But you were you had some time in CZW, which is another Philly, well now I guess more Jersey-based promotion now, but that really is more along the lines of what ECW used to be like. And what's it like to go from one to the other? Is there a whole lot of difference in, I guess, the locker room there in those promotions, or?
I only did a little bit of CZW in 2003 into 2004, and then again, maybe I did a show for them 2012, and then a couple when I came back in 2017.
Right.
So when I was there for that first short, maybe 6-month, 7-month run, I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't really enjoy it.
Okay.
I had gotten into, there was an altercation. I got in with Sabian, Black G's, and that sort of spiraled pretty quickly. And I ended up leaving I think it was like March of 2004. I came maybe in August or September of 2003 and left in 2004. At that point in my career, it didn't really click with.
Okay. Would you like to talk about Wrestling Society X at all? Because that's something that Cass and I have an interest in.
Dude, almost every podcast I go on, they're like, "Hey,
Yeah.
it's got this real like underground."
It does, man. It's such a underground cult following, and I remember watching it when it happened, and I didn't appreciate it like I should have, I guess, when it was on, and now I love talking about it for some reason. I love it, man.
Yeah, it's certainly a very unique project and sort of an anomaly in wrestling in a lot of ways. I mean, first of all, the fact that they got pro wrestling on MTV was just, you got to give it to Kevin Kleinrock and the people at Big Vision Entertainment for pulling that off and for doing it. And it was just so the quick cuts and the cinematic stuff and the piranha tanks and the explosions. It was a little bit ahead of its time. Honestly,
yeah. I think that's why people keep talking about it so much, because it's the kind of thing where you could, like, I could see it getting signed and put on Netflix and people watching it now and binging on it. And one of the questions that I had was if it hadn't folded at the end of the first season and it was at least greenlit for a second season, do you think the added content of that second season could have been enough to get it over the hole and make it a success for a long, semi-long term?
I mean, there are so many factors, and I'm sure many of which I am unaware of, certainly in totality. I don't think we had the support of the network. And I think that's a key factor in success. I mean, they ran us, I think we ran 3 weeks in a row and then off a week, then on a week, then off a week. And then they did a 5-episode marathon. And so aired 9 out of the 10 episodes. And, there was no replays. There was no promotion. I think we had one commercial that we were part of the 10 spotted on Tuesday nights, the Bam Margera's wedding and something else, and a 10:30 wrestling settings. And then so it was so if you don't have promotion from the network, you don't have support of the people in the network, it's difficult to really get something off the ground. And I think that's likely a very large contributing factor as to how the show was handled and to somewhat its success.
Yeah, it's such a shame because you feel like whenever you hear about that, where you get a good idea that gets on a big network and has a good platform, it usually ends up being that network platform that ends up being the reason why it's its downfall, and not the locker room or anything on the people in the ring.
It's so weird. It was as if they agreed to put pro wrestling on their network, and then as soon as they signed the contract, we're like, why the hell do we agree to put pro wrestling on our network, guys? And there was a bit of a shakeup. After something happened. I mean, this is 13 plus years ago. Almost 14. We taped it 14 years ago now. Probably right now. It was November of 2006. Yeah, I was out in LA for 10 days doing this, and I think there was a shakeup after week 3. One of the guys who the one guy we did have supporting us at MTV left, or I mean, these are the stories you hear at the time. You go, oh, we're screwed. So.
Right. Well, at the same time, you were doing a lot of other indie promotions, and the one thing that I thought was interesting about the small stints that you had in Evolve, Insanity Pro Wrestling, Pro Wrestling Ohio, which is now Prime Wrestling, you were wrestling guys who are now the big names. I mean, you wrestled Johnny Gargano in Evolve, you wrestled Chuck Taylor in Evolve, you wrestled Johnny Gargano again in Pro Wrestling Ohio. There was one other one I had here that I thought was so interesting. Sami Callihan and Ray Phoenix. These are all guys that you see every week now. And it's, they're guys that basically started out in the ring with you, kind of teaching them the ropes, and you're still so young. Is there anything do you have any kind of, I don't want to say resentment or animosity, but is there any type of ill feelings about seeing these guys still in the ring doing their thing, and you are so young? Do you ever get that urge to think, I could still do this too and jump in?
No, I mean, look, I still love performing, and I wrestle on shows that people book me for still. I just was wrestling for either Mid-South or maybe a month or so ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, going back there in December.
Okay.
And I was doing shows up in Canada for CWE. So I still
Okay.
perform sometimes, and I still do love performing. But look, the idea of wrestling at NXT or Ring of Honor or AEW, that sounds like hell to me, man.
Yeah.
And that's just not saying, because I want to be there, because that's not true. I didn't like wrestling for Ring of Honor when I was wrestling for Ring of Honor, which is to say nothing against Ring of Honor. I hated doing that style. I hated trying to keep up. I hated, that was never what I loved about wrestling. That's never what I loved doing. I still love doing small shows in front of, small audience. I love house show wrestling.
Yeah.
If I go to a WWE house show or I remember about 10 years ago, TNA was doing, pretty big house shows. And I remember watching it and just being so jealous and going, that's what I want to do. I want to be on TV just so I can then go and do house show wrestling. That's what I love doing. I never liked a Ring of Honor just knowing, okay, well, they saw the last match, and it's likely they saw the match before that, and always changing the stuff and always trying to create new stuff in the ring. Some guys love that. Some guys, they love the innovation in the ring and the creativeness in doing new stuff in the ring. I love being in the moment and playing with people and having bits that I do. That's what I love.
Mm-hmm.
And so these guys that are as successful as they are, they got what they deserve, man. These are great, talented guys, and they grinded and they put in the effort and they put in the work. I never liked doing a lot of that stuff. I never liked, the idea of being at NXT now sounds like hell to me. It really, really does. And those guys are amazing performers. You see them out, especially on those big, what are they called, takeovers?
Okay.
Amazing. But oh jeez, I remember I watched the first AEW show, and I watched it. And who was it first? What was the first?
Cody and
Darby?
Sammy.
Oh, Sammy.
Yeah, Sammy Guevara. And I was watching that, just going, man, I'm so glad that's not me in the ring right now. Just I that sort of, maybe it's that sort of pressure doesn't appeal to me, and that pressure, of course, certainly comes from within. So maybe that's just some inner work I have to do. But yeah, man, yeah, no resentment towards anybody for their success. That's for sure. Short answer to your question there.
And conversely to that, you got to have a sense of accomplishment and a sense of pride in seeing these guys that really cut their teeth with you doing so well now, because you really are. I mean, you're a legend in the business. You have such a long resume of the stuff that you've done and where you've been. Are you now, and not just in the ring too, because you have a history of working behind the scenes, producing, writing, all of that, and you've been working with Impact most recently, correct?
Yeah, I've been writing for Impact now about 3 years, right? It's almost exactly 3 years. I came in November of 2017, right after I left doing creative for WWE. Yeah, man, dude, I'm grateful to have played any role in these guys' careers, right? Look, all of them would have done amazing whether I was there or not, But it is nice to, just to be able to see these guys coming through and whatever small role I played, I'm grateful to be able to do that. And yeah, now it's great to sort of pass down my knowledge. I don't know if that's quite right, but to work with younger talent as they're coming up now, and just all the talent and writing the TV and coming up with things for the guys to do, and seeing them blossom, seeing them grow, and seeing them come into their own is really nice. You hear people say that. You hear guys like, remember like Paul Heyman saying that when you see a talent, really blossom into their own and become something they didn't even know they were capable of becoming. And you start to see that, and you start to see what that looks like when you have somebody that isn't a very good talker, isn't a very good character, or wasn't, and then they find themselves. And once you find yourself, you just come out into the world, as opposed to trying to be something. You sort of are. You are what you are, and you accentuate that and figure out ways to do that. And seeing characters, somebody like, I think about like Taya Valkyrie a lot, who has had a few different iterations, and we had her in as a babyface a couple years ago, and but then she became a heel, and she just found herself. Now she's like one of the best characters on her show. Now she's one of the characters that I can just say, hey, this is kind of what we're doing, and she just takes it. And it's like, great. The less work I have to do, the better. Not because I'm lazy, because I can never be Taya Valkyrie like Taya Valkyrie can be Taya Valkyrie. So if everybody can just sort of be themselves and know how to do that, it's better for everybody. So it's awesome. It's awesome to play a part in anybody's career.
Yeah, and I don't want to ask a question to make you feel like you got to crap on your time writing in WWE, but I get that sense from the way that storylines, when I watch Impact, I feel that there's more freedom in the way that people are able to get their characters across, get their promos across. Do you as a writer feel a little bit of freedom in being able to get your stuff across the way you want to say it? I know that it's a team process and everything is a creative process with a group, but do you feel, I guess, creatively satisfied where you're at now in Impact?
Like, of course there's more freedom. I mean, look, Vince runs his show the way he runs his show, and he's allowed to do that because it's his show. But something Vince does is he micromanages things, and he micromanages a lot. I believe, to a detriment, and I would say there's probably other people that believe that as well. But it's his show, and he gets to micromanage as much as he wants to micromanage. And I think that reflects on adversely on the product a lot. I'm sure sometimes it helps, but he wants to show the way he wants to show. And at Impact, it's just nice to be able to try stuff, even if it ultimately doesn't work. And I'm sometimes talking about big things, sometimes talking about little things. So, I remember doing a shot with like Matt Sydal in Impact Wrestling, and he was going to be interviewed, and we just decided to have him do it where he's like, sitting all like in this, yoga posture and his cross-legged. And instead of standing up to talk to the interviewer went down, and he's like, come sit with me. And she, sits with him. And I remember doing that. And I didn't have to, first of all, I didn't have to ask anybody, hey, is it okay if we have the interviewer sit down with Matt? I didn't have to ask anybody. I was able to just do it. And, I'm not saying we're changing the world, but it's the freedom to do something like that, and without worried about, hey, Chris, can you come to Gorilla after you shoot a pre-tape that Vince doesn't like? You have to go to Gorilla. God, why was she sitting? Oh, and so when you have that sort of environment, when you're just trying to not get in trouble, basically, it doesn't encourage people to try new things. It doesn't encourage people to aim for the stars. It encourages people to go, well, I'm pretty sure Vince won't yell about this.
Yeah.
And so it's far more, I don't want to say I can do whatever I want at Impact, but I'm able to do a lot at Impact. Yeah.
But I'm sure that breeds just a better overall feeling. It's like we were saying earlier, when you have that kind of creative flexibility, you have a better disposition. When you have a better disposition, then everybody else around you has a better disposition. It breeds a better environment.
And if you do something that doesn't work, it's a discussion afterwards. One of my bosses will be like, hey, why was this? I was like, yeah, I was trying this. And it's like, okay, well, we don't want to like that. It's like, okay. And that's fine. And so there's no, worry that the crazy man's going to go, oh, geez, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Get rid of him or whatever you're scared of. when you're working at WWE. And the other thing that's just I love about Impact is I can just the thing that I didn't like probably the most about WWE. I liked working there. I didn't like working for Vince, and part of what that meant is that it was often that I wasn't, I think, generally speaking, people aren't judged by the quality of their work, but judged by Vince's idiosyncrasies. So I might have a good idea, but if I'm wearing a pink tie when I say this idea, then well, who cares? He's wearing a pink tie. At Impact, look, man, I'm the way I am. Whatever that means, I produce promos and I'll sit on the floor as I'm producing them, or whatever. I couldn't imagine, sitting on the ground producing at WWE. I don't have to wear a damn suit every day to try to pretend that we're in this corporate environment.
Right.
And so there's just, when you feel as though you can be yourself, or when I feel as though I can be myself, I feel like I can create better. And that's certainly Impact has that, just the environment where I can go, okay, cool, what are we doing here? As opposed to, oh no, will the crazy man be mad about this?
And I can't imagine that's unique to you. I mean, I know I'm the same way. I think everybody would be the same way. The more, and it's not just freedom, but the more people trust you to make the right decisions yourself and not feel like you need to conform to the only way that it can possibly be done. But anyway, let's get off that. Let's get into some current wrestling and where we're at now, because there's even despite the whole pandemic, there's still so much wrestling to be absorbed. And when you're not working on Impact, or you're not working with your own scheduling with matches that you're doing, what do you like to sit down and watch just to unwind with, wrestling related? Yeah.
Oh, no, I don't watch any.
No. Okay.
No, wrestling plays a very different role in my life now than it used to play. It used to be like the thing that was like, I was so passionate about, and the thing I aspired to. And as such, it sort of had this control over me. And I really let go a lot of that. Now wrestling is something that I can enjoy being a part of. I can enjoy being in the, in the performance aspect of it. I can enjoy being the creative aspect of it. I can enjoy being around people who are passionate and following their dreams. But it's something that, I've seen a lot of wrestling in my life,
Yeah. I'm sure.
And I generally don't feel compelled to go, oh, what's going on with this or here. If my buddies are doing something, maybe I'll check out what Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens are doing. But other than things like that, I checked out AEW when it first came up. It's like, hell yeah, man, Young Bucks like doing it. Like good for those guys. And so if I watch anything now, it's more as of cheering on my friends and going like, heck yeah, look at them doing it. Good for those guys.
Yeah, definitely. But now when you pick the matches that you set yourself up for and schedule for moving forward, current day, is that something where you pick your opponent, or people come to you with, hey, we want to sign you for this date, we're thinking about having you with this person, and then you just say, yeah, that's good, or it's not going to happen?
Yeah, I just,
okay.
I go, yeah, man, you want to play here? Like, at the age I'm at now, I kind of go, hey, this is what I need to come in, and if you want to do it, great. If you don't, fine too. That's okay. It's just sort of, boundaries as a human being to go, hey, this is, if you want to play in my party, here are the rules to the party. I would love to play with you, if that's cool with you. And so, yeah, that's what goes on.
I want to get away from wrestling for a little bit then, if that's okay, because I just love hearing you speak about life. You have just such a great mentality, and I'm not even going to think about the questions. What do you do on a day off when you just have nothing to worry about?
I have, that's especially, again, with this, with all these shutdowns and the way the world has seemingly changed, I've had a lot of days off. Mm-hmm. And, over the last months, I've really just gained I've got a laundry list of practices that I have that I do most days or sometimes daily, like when I wake up, there's a video of it on my Instagram, but I was doing cold showers for a while, right? And I was also doing grounding. Grounding is connecting your
Mm-hmm.
right.
Bare feet to the
And so then there's this practice that sort of combines the two, which is called cold dowsing, and it's from the Sistema practice. Sistema is a Russian martial art, and I've been working with a guy with Sistema, and not necessarily the martial arts aspect of it, but like the breathing and like letting go of tension, all these sort of this is the sort of stuff I'm into. So he got me on cold dowsing, and so it's like you go in the earth barefoot, you take a bucket of ice water, and you just let go of all the tension in your body, and you just slowly pour the bucket of ice water over you, and you just to wash away. You do it with the intention of washing away the negative energy and the stagnant energy and the energetic blocks and things like that. And so every day, and it wakes up, it alerts your cells too. So it's waking up and going, here we are, as well as washing all that and down through Mother Earth to recycle that energy through the earth. And so it's things like that. I have I do Qigong almost on a daily basis. I really got into Wim Hof breathing too over this time. And that was part of the start of a huge transformation as I started to do Wim Hof's breath work. Are you familiar with Wim Hof?
Not specifically Wim Hof, but I want to let you go, and then I'll speak to just breathing in general, but go ahead.
Yeah, breathing in general, man. Breathing's really important. And the way you breathe is really important. And Wim Hof, the Iceman, he's like a 61-year-old guy from Holland who, has climbed Mount Everest in nothing but shorts, barefoot. And he holds the, Guinness Book of World Records for like longest time in ice water, things like this. And he developed this breathing technique, learning to do so through the cold. And, part of it is just inhaling more than you exhale more or less, and that oxygenates your blood. And as you do these breathing techniques, as I would start to do them, I started to see how much effect just breathing differently can have on my body. And as I started to see that, it made me go, man, I don't know anything about my body. I don't know anything about how this works. If I can change my body this much just with the way I breathe, like, what else do I not know? I don't know anything about this. So part of my, dive this, over the summer was just starting to learn about how my body, mind, soul, how the complex works, how this structure works. And that's, this guy I'm working with in Sistema. That's a lot of what we've worked on, and just getting back into my body for the first time, and just appreciating it and learning how to take care of it.
I was looking up just really quick. I wanted to make sure I got the name right. But speaking to what you were saying, so when you said Wim Hof, I thought that was a technique, which it is. Yeah, but I forgot that it was also the name of the guy you were speaking of. My brother is a physical therapist who is very big into postural restoration, which is a specific type of physical therapy that deals so much with breathing and the connectivity between your vision, your dental construction, and also your podiatry and your feet. So grounding is so important to that, and breathing overall, just like you said, it changes everything in the way your body works, the way your blood flows, the way your organs work, being able to turn on certain muscle groups in your body that haven't been turned on, so that other muscle groups that are overworked can get some relaxation and some breathing room. But it's so important, people don't realize. And one thing that I always think is funny is people always get down on themselves for how overweight they are and can't lose weight, without realizing how much of that is actually inflammation. And how if you change the way you breathe, and you change, people take these big long inhales and then a short exhale, and they don't realize all that air is trapped in there. And if you can just change your breathing structure, it's crazy to look in the mirror and then be like, oh, did I just lose a couple of pounds? No, you didn't lose any weight, but you look different. But it's not just looking different. It's feeling different. It's just everything that you feel when your body's working for you as opposed to, working in spite of you.
Right. Your body wants to be in harmony. Your body wants to be in balance. And, just as I start to learn how to take care of it, how to move it, how to stretch it, how to, to just do all these things, like what to put into it. We live in this world where, and I'm guilty of it. It's like, I've got this phone and I can press a button and somebody just delivers me food. And I have no idea where that food came from. I don't know anything about it. I don't know what's in it. And it really disconnects you from learning how to take care of yourself. It disconnects you from the process of living. And so it's been really great for me to, there's so many things you can change with just breathing. And breath is life. There's no doubt about it. And as I start to explore this stuff, I start to realize how not just important, but like profound these things are, and how about this? When this coronavirus COVID-19 thing started happening, I heard an interview with Wim Hof on Russell Brand's podcast, where he said, infect me with it. No problem. You can infect me with it. Like my guys will fight him off. No problem. His immune system, he says, is that strong. It's that strong through the use of cold and through the use of breath. Now, I'm not saying that's true, but let's consider the idea that if you change the way you breathe, let's consider the idea that if you strengthen your immune system, that is the solution to everything that's going on. That actually you and Mother Nature together have the power to work in balance, in harmony, to create health. And you start to think like, wait a minute, that could be the answer to all this. Not hiding in your house and wearing a mask and sanitizing everything and making sure you stay away from everybody and fear everything and fear everybody else, and that person can be a danger to you. And oh my God, what's going on? Oh, go look at the numbers. They're getting higher. Breathing could, I tend to believe Wim Hof. I tend to believe in general that, in the middle of what is being considered a pandemic, a health crisis, that the conversation should be about health and taking care of ourselves. And when you realize you have the power, you and along with the planet, your environment, Mother Earth, have the power to create a balance, create a harmony, where there's,
Well, no, I think people were much more, maybe I'm wrong, but I would like to think that people are so much more open to the idea of holistic medicine now, as opposed to maybe 15 years ago, because more and more cases you see it works. It's not a 100% guarantee, but nothing is 100% guarantee. But you see cases, just like you said, of, you don't need a surgery to fix a knee problem. We can fix it in different methods, alternative methods. You don't need all these different pills to fix, issue A, B, or C if we just change different things in your lifestyle and change it that way. And these types of holistic treatments predate America. So there's a history of it working that predates America. I myself have an allergy to a bunch of different stuff, a lot of different types of fruits, cats. When I was a senior in college, my buddies decided to get a cat, and we weren't allowed to have it in the dorm, but they snuck them in. And I was allergic, but the cat was so cute that I was like, it's gotta happen. But I would just get itchy all over the place. And my brother, the physical therapist, he recommended a holistic doctor that deals with that kind of allergy treatment. All it was it was acupuncture in specific spots, and then over-the-counter supplements specifically designed to attack my allergy to cats. And for the whole rest of the year, it was 2 or 3 treatments of that and taking these over-the-counter supplements, and I was fine. At the end of the year, cat could come up, cuddle with me in bed. I would be fine on my skin. Absolutely no issues.
Yeah, and of course, this stuff is ancient, and we have this notion that we only learn to start to take care of different things in the last 100 years, and it's like this is. Look, modern medicine has its place, no doubt, but there's certain myths with modern medicine, and it has created a paradigm, this idea that if something is wrong with you, we have this pill for it, and that's it, and that's the answer. And this is something that I was confronted with this year. I was on antidepressants for on and off for 10 years, and part of Wim Hof breathing was the impetus where I finally got off antidepressants.
Okay.
And people, look, they held space for me. They did, they worked for me when I didn't think I was capable of doing it for myself. And I was able to get off of that, and it's a drug. It is a drug. And again, not to say it doesn't have utility, it doesn't have function, because it had utility and function for me for a very long time. But I realized there's something like this is an answer, but it's not the answer.
Yeah.
The answer lies within me. The answer lies within the harmonizing the energy of me and the universe together. That's and so, I mean, that's a lot of where these practices started to come from. That's when I started doing, Qigong and Wim Hof breathing and things like that, and a lot of meditation. And I feel better than I ever have in my life. So the answer doesn't necessarily come in a cheap and easy, not necessarily cheap, but a easy pill where you go, oh, good, now I'm better. It's this fast food going like, okay, great. I can press a button on my phone and somebody delivers me food. I can go to my doctor. He can tell me what's wrong with me. He can give me a pill, and that's the solution. As opposed to saying, hey, there's more going on than just, the big business of big pharma where, and that's the solution to things. And then starting to realize that. And I mean, that's a lot of what this journey in the last few months has been about, is going, okay, how does this operate? How does this work? How can I maintain health? And, we have a bunch of people that are scared of, this invisible thing that they're selling to us. And I'm not saying it isn't what they say it is or anything like that. I'm saying you have the ability to create health with yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's and so much of it is, like we've been saying throughout this whole interview, it's personal growth. And there's a time where certain medications or certain processes are the best thing for you, and then you grow to a point where you can attack it differently. And it's not to say that,
And the point in those things, the point in anything should be to get you off that thing eventually, It really should. So I guess I'm suspicious. And this is just where I'm at in my journey today. In 5 years, I might look back at me and go, oh God, you were so stupid. You didn't know anything. This is whatever. I'm just saying where I'm at in my journey today. Anything that tells me to be scared, anything that disempowers me, gives my power to something else, whether that's a pill or a government or anything like that, anything that tells me to be scared, give my power away, or divides me from other people, tells me I should be angry at something else, wants me to put blame on something or somebody, like all that, I go to it. I'm suspicious as fuck to anything that tries to give me that narrative, because that's not where I'm at. Where I'm at is going, the power lies inside of you. The power lies inside of me. We are all one. And fear is just an illusion, because what is fear? But fear, I mean, ultimately is fear of the unknown, fear of death, fear of non-existence. But you go, well, it's going to happen to everybody. There's nothing to fear. So anybody that's trying to sell me fear of death, it's like, get over it, man. Everybody dies. Like, we need to embrace that. Fuck, we need to embrace that. We're all going to die. Yes. There's the good news. No matter what you do, death is coming for you. So this illusion, the illusion of safety, don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it because death is the end. So great. Now that we know that, can we move on?
Yeah. Because it can only get better from there, right?
Right. Once you go, isn't something to fear. Then you stop having to worry about, oh no, when is the time coming? Oh no. It's like, yeah, cool. Let me accept that. Because only through acceptance can you transcend something. I mean, really, basically the only way out is, out is through, right? You have to go through something. I can't go around death and go, oh, well, let me just, circumnavigate. It's like, no, you got to go right into it. You have to, that's what life is. You confront the fear. You confront the thing in front of you. You don't hide from the fear. That is what, that is what the story, at least part of the story of Jesus is that in order that you confront life in all its unfairness, all its injustice, you bear your cross, you take the pain, and in doing so, in accepting it willingly, you transcend it. The old you dies and the new you is born. And you don't have to believe in any of the metaphysics of it. I don't. I'm just saying the story of it. And that is the story of how to live. It's the story of how to live, to go, one of my favorite quotes is Joseph Campbell: "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek." It's like, yes, what you fear, like in my life now, what I fear is what I know I need to do. I know I need to walk through that. And once you walk through that, you walk then past that fear, and then you transcend it, and then you become something greater. And so any entity that sells me fear, I say that not for me. Not for me, because fear isn't something to be avoided. It's something to be confronted. It's something to be accepted. Go, great, bring it on. Let's do this. And that's what life is. And that's the best way. That's the optimal way to live it. I guess that's what I believe, and that's what I'm finding. And also fear and being scared and all that stuff, it's super bad for your health too. It puts stress on your body. It puts it puts you into this false survival mode, which activates your sympathetic nervous system, and then you're in this kind of like this extended fight or flight, which just puts stress on your body. And what's stress? What stress causes dis-ease. Dis-ease is stress. It's like, it's terrible for you, right? So all this to say, fuck fear, man. Let's live our lives.
This is going to sound corny as hell, but you gave me goosebumps in what you were saying there. That last one literally gave me goosebumps. And I realized that I'm just like tranced just listening to what you're saying there. And then
I haven't said a word like
an
hour, bro. I'm just like, I love this fucking interview. I don't even need to talk. I'm just going to sit here and just nod because everything is just great. This is, I love it.
That's another thing too, though, because I usually try to be good with keeping my eye on the clock to watch the time so we don't go over. And I feel bad because I'm like, we've kept this poor guy on for over an hour already. I would be more than happy to keep you on for another 3 hours and not say a word, just listen to you talk, because I'll tell you what, thank God that wrestling happened for you, because you definitely left a huge, huge mark on it. But if you ended up going the law school route, you could have worked me over on a jury with the way you speak. And if you I never saw myself as joining a cult, but I could literally follow your teachings the way that you speak. So
these aren't my teachings. These are all ancient things.
Well, right.
These are all things that is wisdom that has been there through so much time, and we have lost track sometimes, and we get so consumed into our little points of view. We get so consumed with our perspective, and we confuse our perspective with reality, that you just open your eyes, open your horizon just a little bit, and start to see the infinite existence that we live in. We're surrounded by infinity, and not confined by a small little perspective. And as you start to just expand a little bit more, it becomes a lot more freeing and a lot more fun, and you have a lot more to give. And again, I'm not saying I'm right about anything. I'm just sharing my, where I'm at right now. And where I'm at right now, I'm loving it. So
that makes me happy to hear.
Same.
And well, it makes me very happy to hear. And also, you don't need to say that you're right. I'll say it for you. To anybody that listens to us, this man is right. And if you don't think so, don't even listen to us. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. No argument for me either. No argument here.
Listen, I apologize in advance for when I blow up your DM in the future to try to get you to come back on for the follow-up. But before we let you go, I have two really random questions for you. One of which you briefly mentioned camping at the top of the interview. If you could go, I love camping, and the things that we talked about as far as just deep self-reflection and grounding yourself, working on breathing. I always feel that I am more at peace and able to do that with a clear mind when I'm in nature. I'm very fortunate to be like right across the street from a park, so I can go into the woods on the trail and be at peace there. But when you go, if you could camp anywhere in the country right now, limited to the country since we are where we are, if you could do a camping trip anywhere in the country, where would you go?
dude, I have no idea. Look, I just went camping like for the first time a few months ago.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
okay.
Because like this, I was a guy that was, probably like a lot of other people that was like, oh no, I'm an inside person. I'm just gonna, stay in the thing, in the thing that I'm comfortable doing. And as I started to get more of an appreciation of nature and more of a, I didn't grow up in a camping, my parents weren't campers, but just going like, yeah, what's out there? And exploring. I took a survival a training class this over the summer where I learned how to build a fire and filter water and create a little place, a little structure for you to sleep in, and going, yeah, what's out there in the world? What happens when I get outside of my house? What happens when I get outside of the air conditioning and get into nature? So it's a completely new journey for me. All this is new. Maybe that's why my excitement is where it is. But it's new to me, and I'm enjoying it.
Well, that's good. Hopefully, if we get you back on again sometime in the future, that'll be the cliffhanger. You can tell us where you've been next time.
You should come check out my part of the world, man. It sounds like it's right up your alley. I'm in the mountains of North Carolina, up here in Asheville, man. So the Asheville thinking very much embodies everything that you pretty much said today. And we're in the mountains and the nature, so it'd be two birds with one stone, I think, for you.
Yeah, man. I gotta, as time goes on, I'm going, I gotta get outside of the city, man. Like I think I'm in the suburbs of Phoenix now, and it's like, all the things I watch and look at now are like, how to build a house out of mud or whatever, just in the middle of nowhere. Right. And homesteading and things like that, which seem to appeal to me at this point as the craziness sort of continues in our society right now. I was camping this weekend, and it's like you go out there and the world's normal out there. Nobody's scared of anybody. It's just there's nobody hiding under their faces like, oh no. It's like, yeah, no, it's just people living. Go figure, right?
Right. Like I have one more question. It's so random. Who was your first celebrity crush?
Amy Jo Johnson.
Bam, nailed it. Love it.
Right out the park. Didn't even have to think about it.
No hesitation. Pink Power Ranger. I can get behind that.
That's hilarious because I can't say she was my first. She was like my 1A because I was always in the Power Rangers growing up. I was born in '90, so it was like right in that sweet spot of the time there. It would be a tie between her and Hillary Banks from Fresh Prince.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I always liked the Pink Power Ranger, but if I had to go back to my earliest memory, I think it's her. But that's funny. I'm glad you said that. Look, I'm sorry that we kept you so long. I was just in awe of what you were saying.
No, this was fantastic, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up. Cass, do you have any other questions for?
No, man. This was a pleasure to hear you speak, man. I've been looking forward to this since we confirmed it with you. This has been something I've been looking forward to. So thank you again for just talking to us, man. It's been great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you much for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. We'll put this up soon, but we'll annoy you for a few more seconds with our award-winning outro.
First, let's plug ourselves here. Where
Oh yeah, we always
plug the
forget
stuff.
that.
Man, we always forget to put ourselves over and where we can find our stuff. So we got to do that.
So we're on Twitter. You can catch us at bodyslam_pod, at bodyslamnet. And Jimmy, where are you available on social media?
Instagram and Twitter at Jimmy Jacobs X.
Okay, super easy. We'll put that in the bio description, and you can catch him. You said you have a match coming up next month, correct?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. On December 19th, I do Mid-South, Jimmy Jacobs versus Alex Shelley.
Oh, man.
One more time. We had a long feud in 2003, 2004.
Yeah.
So doing it one more time 18 years later.
That'll be
Can't
awesome.
wait. That will be awesome, man.
Sounds good. So we'll plug that too. But yeah, thank you so much again for coming on. God bless, and sit back and relax while we take you out with the outro.
It looks like he's ready to jump in. He's got his ukulele ready. Let's do it.
Podcast. We cast a Dom and Jimmy Jacobs. The push.
The push.